are they, how do they do this year in and year out? I mean, is that okay for me to say? Like, I know that everybody's rejoicing. I know that everybody's happy. I know that everybody is celebrating naked and drunk in the streets of Broadway until I was leaving Nissan Stadium at like 2 a.m. last night. But how the hell is this something that they do each and every time?
It's the GIF for Jesse in Breaking Bad. They can't keep getting away with this.
It's awesome because that was an incredible game to witness and to cover and to be a part of because I've talked about this a million times. I'm watching a Hall of Famer in front of me. I'm getting the opportunity in my career to cover a future Hall of Famer in Derrick Henry because the numbers on this dude are insane. But I'm writing about this last night, and all I kept thinking in my head, and it was set off by a comment that Kevin Byard made. Kevin Byard, Titan safety, meeting with the media last night. He was one of several players to meet with the media last night. Everybody wanted to talk last night because they got a massive victory against Buffalo. But Kevin Byard came into the press conference, and I'll read you the exact quote. We're asking him basically about, what was it like to be on the field in that environment? A record crowd at Nissan Stadium. It was such a cool thing to witness. And we were asking him, is this like the biggest moment that you guys have had, or is this the most impactful moment? And he goes, honestly, it goes back to 2019 Chargers. That was Tannehill's first start. It was Jeffrey Simmons' first game that I add parenthetically. They got a goal line stop in there. Wesley Woodyard forced a fumble. It was an incredible atmosphere, and he goes, it was movie-like. You know what I'm saying? And I'm sitting there thinking about, and then for whatever reason, I got lost in the rest of Kevin Byard's press conference because I'm just thinking it really did feel like a cinematic feature event. And every season under Vrabel, 3 years in the past and now in his fourth season, they have one of these movie-like moments, whether it's the Chiefs in 2019 or the Eagles' overtime victory at Nissan Stadium, or you go into Baltimore in the playoffs and you upset Lamar Jackson after doing it to Tom Brady. There are these moments across these 3 seasons and change under Mike that just make me think of the line. I know it's a Godfather line, but I associate it more with The Sopranos. Just when I thought I was out, they pull me back in. That's what the Tennessee Titans are to me. They have these season-defining moments once a year, sometimes twice, but this was one of those because it wasn't just that Derrick had another 3-touchdown performance. It's the third time that he scored 3 touchdowns in a game. Nobody else has done it once. It's stupid. It's watching something that's completely unprecedented. And by the way, the campaign for Derrick Henry for MVP has probably already started well in earnest, but we're gonna lead the charge on that. I feel like this is gonna be my repentance for in 19 or in 18 or 20 rather, not wanting to give Derrick Henry a second contract. Who's the dumbest thing in sports? It's me this week. Me for the rest of time. We could nominate me for the rest of time because every time I watch him, he just makes me eat it.
And a lot of other people.
Sure, there's a lot. But accountability is key on this show. And so we are going to lead the charge for Derrick Henry for MVP, not just because I'm trying to make up for how stupid I looked a couple of years ago, but because he damn deserves it. It's insane. Every week, Teron Davenport and myself, Teron Davenport from ESPN, it's always after the media availability concludes. You're walking through the bowels of whatever stadium you're in, whether it's Nissan or that godforsaken cesspool in Jacksonville or Seattle in week 2. You're just walking through the bowels of the stadium after the media availability, and you're like, man, every week you look at ESPN Stats and Info or Next Gen or Pro Football Focus, and Derrick Henry has done something for the first time since Jim Brown in 1960. Or he's on a list with 2 other running backs that have done X, Y, and Z in the history of the sport. Except it's literally every damn week. I've never seen anything like it. and precious few people have throughout the course of NFL history. And honestly, that's not even what made that win so spectacular. It helped. It helped that the Bills, who are giving up 12.8 points per game last night, that Derrick Henry scored 18 points himself. It helps that the Bills are giving up 78.4 yards per game on the ground, third best in the sport before last night, and the first touchdown of the game is a 76-yarder by Derrick.
He got it in one play.
It's crazy. That's what I'm saying. But Lucas, I almost said a bad word. It's bleeped up because he's not even the story today. I mean, he is, but not really, because he does that every week. Every week he does this kind of thing. What changed the game was the defense. What changed the game were early Buffalo Bills drives that stall out in the red zone, that you're making them settle for field goals at least 3 times throughout the course of that game. You're causing Josh Allen to be uncomfortable. You come up with a legitimately great game plan to keep Josh Allen. I mean, we'll play you some audio from Bud Dupree, from Jeffrey Simmons, from Derrick Henry, Ryan Tannehill, Mike Vrabel. You hear from everybody last night throughout the course of that game. But the way that they were able to bother a quarterback who largely, outside of the first game of the season against Pittsburgh, largely been unbothered. And the guy who is one of the candidates for MVP, and I understand we're going into week 7, and who the hell cares about MVP in week 7? Well, Titans fans should, because you've got a candidate, and he's a real one. In fact, he should be. If it's not Kyler Murray, it's Derrick Henry. It's 1A and 1B. Because you just went head-to-head with another supposed MVP candidate last night. And who, Lucas, let's play some trivia. It's not even trivia. Who looked more like the MVP last night?
Yeah, which player was more valuable to their team last night?
Yeah. Who was it? Can you tell me?
It was the guy who's on pace to rush for 2,218 yards in 17 games.
I would say it's the 250-pound running back who's pulling away through your secondary for almost as many yards as you average per game. It is something that this is what pisses people off about the Titans. You can't quantify them. They are a statistical anomaly in any sense of the imagination. Whether, they're a 6-point home dog to the Buffalo Bills, which if you bet Titans +6, you're living today, because that may have been the easiest bet on the board given the way that they play in these games. But they're doing it with a running back. They're doing it in a way that no other NFL team right now, outside of the Cleveland Browns, because they have a quarterback with a bum shoulder, and the Baltimore Ravens, because of who Lamar Jackson is, nobody else is doing it the way that the Titans do it. And they're not even like whole. All of that offseason hype, and listen, it's not defined by one game. Their season is not defined by one game, but it can be a defining moment. Each year that this staff and John Robinson have been overseeing things together, they have had one of these defining moments. And last night, it came on a nationally televised stage in front of a record crowd at Nissan Stadium. I've never seen anything like that. Been covering the team for 5 years. Never seen that stadium look anywhere remotely like that. Not against the Chiefs in 2019. Not against the Eagles in overtime in 2018. That was when people were still trying to decide whether they can trust. And one game may not sell you on being able to trust them outright, nor should it, because that Jets thing looms large. But what we're watching right now is a defining moment for the Tennessee Titans, and it could not come at a more critical time given who they have in front of them the next 3 weeks. We'll talk about it all day long. Your phone call, 615-737-1045. Coming up next, you're going to hear from Big Jeff, who had the goal line stop on 4th and 1 from the Titans 3. Kathy will lead us off on the other side. I'm Buck Reising. It's 104.5 The Zone.
J-Mart and Ramon.
Oh, man, we appreciate you, brother. Keep on rolling.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Appreciate you guys.
Indeed. That's oh, Lord. I just sniped him. Ola, did you snipe him? Ola, you're back. Say what you were saying there at the end. I'm sorry.
Man, I wanted to say tighten up, man.
There you go.
Tomorrow from 6 to 10 on 104.5 The Zone.
And then he decides that he's going to sneak up under the center. And who's waiting there for him? One, the turf monster, because Josh Allen straight up slipped. So all credit in the world to the Titans defense, but also like he just straight up lost his footing. And then as he loses his footing, he falls like a damsel in distress into the arms and the belly button of Jeffrey Simmons.
Not yes, hell yes.
Who's there cradling him like a child, even though Josh Allen is a giant human being. That's right. Thank you for all your good works, Mac. See, normally we just get Mac on Friday. Now we got him year-round. It's so ridiculous. I went down into the lower bowl at halftime to kind of, just to kind of see what the crowd was like, and I had some friends in section 137, so I wandered down there to go check out what was happening, and they were sitting right under Mike and Coach Mac, and I looked up, and I swear to God, like, I know Rhett was joking when he said he had to hold Mac by the back of his belt to keep him from falling out of the booth because he was leaning so far forward, but he was getting pretty damn close. Like, it was making me nervous up there as a friend, as a concerned citizen, but nobody was getting more into it than Coach Mac and Mike Keith last night.
He was about to start crowd surfing.
He should have. Listen, if anybody deserves it, it's Dave McGinnis.
No, he said on the air, I'm about to go crowd surfing.
you just see Max swan dive into the lower bowl. Unreal.
He said the words, not me.
But it was an unreal scene. And we'll spend some more time on the defense here in just a second, but I want to get the people involved. I want to get you involved. 615-737-1045 is how you do so. Kathy is in Gulf Shores, Alabama. She's been waiting patiently. She wants to talk about the Titans game.
Yeah, but this is what I'm talking about, just listening to you guys play the sound bites and your comments and analysis and all that. It is so exciting. It's what I look forward to. You guys in sports radio are just as much a part of the game experience as the guys on the field. I mean, I can't wait to get to the car, to the tailgate, to turn on the radio afterwards, to hear what you have to say, to hear what fans have to say. And you just add so much to the game. You are important, and we appreciate you being there.
Well, Kathy, that was incredibly uplifting and kind of you. Thank you very much.
Yeah,
I was not expecting that.
Call him back, Kathy.
I was not the person who got my face mask cut off last night, but I appreciate your commentary anyway.
I like Kathy.
Big Kathy fan. We are now officially a Kathy show. I mean, what I'll say is this: it's cool to be. You do feel that as somebody who gets to cover these games, but not really from the standpoint of like Mike and Mac are different, right? Because they are the voice in your head during the game as you're listening, whether you're driving around in your car or you hate whoever's on the broadcast team, because I saw the Monday Night Crew was getting some heat last night on social media. I haven't had a chance to watch the television copy back just yet, but whether you have Mike and Mac turned up while watching the TV broadcast, those two and Amy Wells and Rhett Bryan and everybody on Titans radio during the games, they are 1,000% a part of the experience. They are just as real as the players on the field in those moments. Now, for us, sitting in the press box, you feel you're a part of it because you're lucky enough to tell the story. It is, Mike Vrabel was talking about, it's my honor and my privilege to coach this team last night, and on it goes. And I'm not to dismiss what he's saying there, but it is really, and I don't want to speak for all of us, but I think I largely do, in saying that it is an incredibly cool opportunity to be a part of that storytelling process. Because like I said earlier, I'm watching a Hall of Famer every Sunday. I'm getting to tell the story of a Hall of Fame trajectory career every Sunday while watching Derrick Henry. And it feels like there's a different angle on it. It's almost like an HBO series, right? And each football season is a season unto itself. And you understand that largely the pieces are the same and that the narratives are same. It's not necessarily an original story, or unless you're Derrick, because this is very much trending towards an original story.
An origin story, like a Marvel movie.
The Chronicles of Derrick Henry. But it's like an HBO series where maybe things are starting to peter out. Maybe you have an odd Jets game and everything, and things start to get stale. But like I said to open the show, just when I thought I got out, they pull me right back in. You've seen this twist and turn a million times, and yet there are different variants to it that allow you to stay engaged and to have your love of this thing, whether you're a fan who's a fan of the football team or the players, whether you're a media member who just loves covering the sport, because I love my job. I got the greatest job in the world. Don't let anybody tell you otherwise. My job is the best job. But to have that opportunity, I mean, it's such a unique experience, and I'm appreciative of it every day. 615-737-1045. Let's go to Roderick, who's in Murfreesboro. He wants to weigh in. What's up, boss?
Hey, how you guys doing this morning?
Man, we're great.
Good. Man, me and my son, we went to the game last night. You know, we're first year season ticket holders, and I mean the atmosphere was amazing. We enjoyed the game from start to finish. Just the environment, just the excitement of the game. I mean, we totally enjoyed it, and we even had a fight break out in our section.
Oh, really?
Yes, sir. Drunk Bill fan. I guess he got a little upset, and a fight broke out, but Retro got to him pretty quick and got him out the building, though. So before he got totally knocked out.
We love to see it. Hey, thanks for the call, Roger. Glad you guys enjoyed the game. Yeah, tough scene for Bills fans, huh?
They were marveling on the Monday Night Football broadcast how it wasn't majority Bills fans at the game. They brought it up a couple of times.
Because this turned into, I mean, it didn't turn into a fight, but it turned into an argument in the press box because Joe Rexrode is convinced he's writing about the atmosphere and setting the scene for The Athletic. And he's going on and on about, well, yeah, the Bills fans, I mean, there's obviously Bills fans here, but you can't tell me that there's 30% of the stadium or 25% of the stadium. I could not believe the way that, because there was a lot of Bills fans there. It was kind of tough to tell from the press box because you got the red seats and people wearing like red pullovers and red Bills gear, so it's kind of blending in, and the blue obviously blends in with the Titans crowd. You're not really able to tell that definitively, but it was no question who the louder, more passionate, and more impactful fan base was at Nissan Stadium. And maybe you're thinking of this cynically and saying, well, congratulations to them. They finally had a home atmosphere when hosting one of these great NFL fan bases that travel en masse. And yeah, you know what? That is a win because it legitimately impacted the game. It was unlike anything that I've seen at Nissan Stadium. And I know that Nissan Stadium and before that LP Field and before that Adelphia Coliseum, like this is not a venue that's a stranger to these kind of environments, but it's been a damn long time. And that has to mean something to the people who have been committed to this thing throughout the course of all of the downtimes, basically the last decade of Titans football, who have seen it at its heights and want to see it restored to that kind of greatness. For at least one night, you got to live that. And now you have the ability to do the exact same thing against the Kansas City Chiefs on Sunday. 615-737-1045. I think, because we'll talk about the game itself, and really, it wasn't just the Jeffrey Simmons 4th and 1 stop, and it wasn't just Big Jeff in the middle of it, but the Jeffrey Simmons 4th and 1 stop was just emblematic of what that defense did all night long. I could not be more complimentary of what their defensive game plan was and how the players executed. It's been a long time since I've been able to say that about a Titans defense. But Jeffrey Simmons, we asked him last night about how they knew, because Jeff said he immediately knew that Josh Allen was getting ready to quarterback sneak in that spot, and this is what Big Jeff had to say on the podium.
I mean, we know what they kind of do, especially on a in that type of situation. Even if they outside of the goal, red zone or right there on the goal line, we know if the quarterback come on center like that, we anticipate sneak, and that was play I thought they was gonna run. They did. So, I was inside of the tackle. Got my hands on the tackle. Quarterback right there. He tried to get low. Just put my big arms around him. He couldn't move, so he was short. So it was a great play from everybody. Everybody was in their gaps.
Everybody was. And here's what I'll say, because who's our guy? Where is Kenston in Memphis? Where is this troll? You know you bleeped up if I know you by name. The only other person that I know by name definitively are people who call this show every day, and Darrington for how just ridiculously awful his opinions are, and we love him for that.
Hey, Darrington took punches for Titans fans yesterday.
Well, he says he did.
That's true. He says he took punches in a Julio jersey. It's a tooth.
Yeah. He also said he went to L.A. to clear his mind after the Titans beat the Seahawks when everything that's legal in Los Angeles is also legal in Washington.
Doesn't
Love
matter.
you, Darrington. We're going to smoke you out, and not in the way that you want to be smoked out. So, what I will say to you, though, about that defense is not only were Jeffrey Simmons and the guys up front in that 4th and 1 stop able to identify what basically was Josh Allen's tell that he was going to sneak. Now, every quarterback has this. You're always figuring out tendencies of your opponent. Every little thing that they do is going to be studied at great length throughout the course of the week to see if you can just find some way to beat that individual in the margins. Now, it helped that you got a little help from home field, literally home field. The turf took him out before Jeff wrapped him up like a baby in his arms. But also, I was talking to Bud Dupree last night, Bud Dupree who made his return as well as Julio Jones, and we'll spend some time on the injuries later on in the show because there are many, and they may have to do something before the trade deadline to kind of strengthen or bolster that secondary because they're in a bad spot right now. But Bud Dupree comes back. Bud Dupree plays a really, really good game. You saw him be disruptive. You saw him swat passes down as Josh Allen was trying to get screen passes off and things of that nature. You saw Bud Dupree have an impact alongside Harold Landry and Jeffrey Simmons and the person who I think is the best acquisition of the 2021 season, Danico Autry. Danico Autry was so good last night. Again, consistently this year. But I was talking about Dupree, and he's like, yeah, we were able to kind of bother Josh Allen because the way that he likes to make plays off of schedule, he likes to roll to his right. So basically everything that we were doing was trying to keep Josh Allen from rolling to his right. So when he started to, he realized that he couldn't. He got flustered. He either held the ball. He was begging to make a bad decision last night. There were a lot of defensive pass interferences, and Breon Borders was put in a spot where he had to fill in. I thought he held up. It was so-so. Could have been better. It's going to need to be better against Kansas City because it may be Breon Borders again on the outside without Christian Fulton and now without Caleb Farley. But the way that Josh Allen was just lobbing these balls up to Stephon Diggs and guys down the field, he was dying to throw an interception. Because when he rolled to his right, he got frustrated. He couldn't really make plays off of schedule the way that he likes to. So then he would tuck it. He would look around. He would go through his progressions, or he would lose his progressions. Then he would just heave one up for somebody to get a hand on. I mean, Breon Borders, Janoris Jenkins knocked an interception out of Breon Borders' hand. So maybe we're having a different conversation about Breon Borders today, if that is indeed the case, because that could have ended the game too. 615-737-1045. Let's go to Mario, who's in Memphis. He wants to talk about the Titans. What's up, Mario?
Yo, good morning, fellas. How you doing?
Man, we're living great.
Man, my voice hoarse, man, because we were so live last night. Some Bill fans, man, me and my brother drove up from Memphis yesterday. We went to the game, and I drove back last night after the game. And some Bills fans, they was outrageous, man. I mean, they were talking so much crap. And I kept on telling them, man, it's a long ride to Buffalo. It's a long ride back to Buffalo with that L. It's a long ride. And then time, Big Sim stuff, Josh Allen, I just looked at the Bill fan and said, ball game, bro, let's go. Let's get back to Memphis. What a hell of a game, hell of an environment. Thanks to the city of Nashville, I had a great time. I will be back when they play the Niners and the Dolphins. Man, it was just awesome, though, man. It was just awesome, bro. Just awesome, man.
Well, I'm glad you enjoyed it, Mario. We appreciate the call, and come back and see us sometime. Little inner city, little inner city love story. We can't ever get Memphis and Nashville to get along. Now we have bonding over sporting events. Now, if I could just get Nashville to care about the Grizzlies, because the NBA starts tonight, and of course I'm not going to get to talk about it at all, which I'm sure bothers nobody. Lucas is giving me just death stares behind the glass. Could not possibly care less about basketball. And you don't have to today. What I'll say about, and I don't want to make the show entirely about the environment, but the environment does matter. And you're going to continue because now you're not just playing for the division. Now you just broken this thing wide open, right? Because you've just leapfrogged the Bills in the AFC. You're 4-2. Buffalo's 4-2. You've got the Los Angeles Chargers sitting there at 4-2, and the Ravens have the tiebreaker over them. So you're looking at an AFC that not only are you just playing for one home playoff game at this point, now you have the ability to play for home field advantage throughout the course, maybe not throughout the course of the postseason, but it's attainable. It is attainable as you sit there in third place. You're the third overall seed right now. The Titans don't play the Chargers or the Ravens this year, so they'll have to falter without the help of the Titans. And you're looking at a team that by point differential, by turnover margin, the Titans don't look like they're in the same class as Baltimore, Los Angeles, and Buffalo. But that's what makes this team so entertaining. Because there are a million numbers that'll tell you why you shouldn't believe, bet on, spend your time watching the Tennessee Titans. And if you're one of those people who is so numerically driven right now in the sport, because there is a lot of this that's trending this way. It's what's made baseball a lot less fun to talk about and to argue about because you're getting bogged down in all these advanced metrics. And I love DVOA. I love EPA per play. I love things that give me more information about what I'm watching. But when the things that are designed to give me more information start to dictate or try and dictate, I hate to use the oldest cliche in sports, but literally the eye test. Like, it's such a lame way to do it, but I don't know how else to talk about this team. I don't know how else to explain them. Because things like Derrick Henry are inexplicable. Because losing to the Jets in New York is inexplicable. And beating the Buffalo Bills on Monday night pretty handily. You had the opportunity to end that game several times. And they didn't play a perfect game, but damn near. Because they just went out and beat the best team in the AFC. I don't think the Bills are worse than the Ravens. I don't think the Bills are worse than the Chargers.
Chargers did not look good on Sunday.
No, they still and I think Justin Herbert is the truth. I still think he's a young quarterback who you can bother and who you can fluster and frustrate. Baltimore did that exact thing.
Shut them down.
On Sunday. So I'm looking at this and saying, all right, you just totally changed the narrative of your season. Now it's not just about being king of the trash heap in the AFC South. Now it's about, all right, how many home playoff games can you potentially host if you can keep your grasp and continue to further your position in this conference? 615-737-1045. Tarn, I believe is how I say it, is calling in from Fresno, California. You're getting people from all over the place wants to talk about the Titans. What's up, boss?
Hey, Buck. How you doing, man? First time calling any type of show ever, man. So I appreciate you guys taking my call, man. I just want to say I've been following you. I want to give you your flowers first. I've been following you for a few years back when you were with A to Z. And, hey, I love everything you do, being a fan in Fresno. The only way I get Titan news is through you, through Coach Mac, Titans Radio. But, hey, I'm pumped up about last night and this season. I mean, I think last night was the first game to where, last year we kept getting told that, our offense was great, but where was our defense? We had the worst third down defense, in history. And this year our defense has been carrying the weight, but I felt like our offense finally, started to click. We finally got our pieces together, even with all the injuries. But it seems like you mentioned a few minutes ago, we finally played some complimentary football. It seems like not our best, but it's something to look forward to. And just speaking about the Chargers, I don't think they're going to be anything to worry about later on. And, man, Buck, I'm just stoked, man. I appreciate you taking my call, man. I listen to you guys every morning on my way to work. I'm actually running late right now on my way to work, but I listen to your podcast. And real quick, shout out to the boys. Listen with the boys. Sign Will Compton. Taylor.
Thanks, buddy. We appreciate the call. Man, that was really it's really cool to see how many people. I mean, it's all over the country. This is legitimately and what I was watching today across sports coverage, right? Because this is a thing I don't necessarily find importance in it, but I do think it's interesting for the purposes of fans to see how the rest of the country is covering what was a nationally televised event last night. Because for forever, it's been, all right, well, the Kansas City Chiefs choked in Week 10, coming back and losing to a Titans team in 2019. Oh, Patrick Mahomes has a bad knee. Is this a tipping point for the Chiefs? It's about the Chiefs losing more than it's about the Titans winning. Same in 2018 when the Philadelphia Eagles were defending their Super Bowl title and they lost in overtime on a Corey Davis touchdown. That changed the game. It was about the Eagles and how they were slumping with a Super Bowl hangover potentially because they just lost to the Titans. How could they not be? What I saw today was about how the Titans won the game. What I saw last night on SportsCenter was about how the Titans won the game. And I don't know how much importance you want to put into narrative shifts, but that's a pretty substantial one. And that's worth monitoring throughout the course of this stretch, this 3-game stretch, because you've got some pretty impressive opponents that you're going to have to take down. We'll continue this conversation coming up next. You'll hear from the head coach, Mike Vrabel, as well. Your phone calls, too. Load them up, 615-737-1045. It's 1045 The Zone.
The Titans have their sights set on Andy Reid's AFC champion Kansas City Chiefs. Mike Keith and Coach Mack have the call.
Did he get in? Yes, he did! Touchdown! Titans!
Kickoff is Sunday at noon on your flagship for Titans Radio, 1045 The Zone.
The dumbest penalties I've ever seen. He just straight up the play's over. They might as well blow it dead. It's not blown dead. David Long just walks. It just looks like it doesn't even look like he was running. It looked like he walked up and headbutted Josh Allen.
Headbutt.
And maybe the tell again, like I said, I haven't had the chance to watch back the TV copy yet. But I was watching this from the press box, and I'm like, what the hell did he just do?
And Landry has 6.5 sacks now, right? After last night.
6.5, tied for third in the NFL. He's got 32 pressures. So, and this was a conversation that I had pregame with Luke Worsham on A to Z Sports. The best way to judge an individual pass rusher is pressures. You cannot judge a pass rush exclusively by pressures, though. But if you're looking at Harold specifically, look at the pressures as much as you're looking at the sacks. 32 pressures, third in the NFL. 6.5 sacks, tied for third in the NFL. He's got 13 quarterback hits, tied for fourth in the NFL. 7 tackles for loss, tied for fifth. Contract year. Can you hear the money? Because I can physically hear the money being direct deposited into Harold Landry's bank account this offseason. I don't know who's going to direct deposit it. I don't know if it's going to be the Titans or somebody else. It's going to be a fascinating story this offseason. But damn, Harold looks great this year. And honestly, it's because of how much better. It's not just because Harold has been a great player this season. And he has been a great individual player this season. But again, what is the correlation between the two games that the Buffalo Bills have lost? Interior pressure, disrupting the quarterback, allowing the guys on the edge to clean up the sacks. That's exactly the kind of stuff that you saw last night. And it was cool to ask Mike Vrabel about Danico Autry because he went on and on about just how much this dude cares. You've had so many guys in and out of the lineup, particularly on the defensive side of the ball. And Autry has been there week in and week out and consistently impacts the play. Harold Landry, though, I mean, it's going to be like what carried all of sports throughout the course of the pandemic. It was, should Dak Prescott get a contract extension for the Cowboys? That's going to be the Nashville version of that when the offseason rolls around. But in the meantime, back to the phone. 615-737-1045. Jason is in Murfreesboro. He wants to talk about the Titans DBs. Jason.
Hello.
You're on the air, buddy.
Hey, this is Jason Thompson. I'm a long-time 49ers fan, but, hometown Titans fan because, the 49ers here obviously before Titans. But I just want to say they got to do something with the Jenkins. And, I mean, every team is, one injury away from being out of the playoffs. So you got to do something better.
Well, yeah, but you don't have anybody else right now, Jason. Like, I don't know if you were paying attention to the injury report last night. Thank you for the call. Can you do that, by the way? After Lucas is done answering the phones, I'll make him put it on a poll. Can you be a fan of two teams like that? Because he's a 49ers fan, but obviously a hometown Titans fan. I don't get that. Maybe a conversation. How can we intelligently phrase that into a poll question?
What was it?
Do you hear what he said about being a 49ers fan, but also a hometown Titans fan? Can you do that? Can you have two teams like that? I feel like you can't.
Yeah, it's tough because there are a lot of people that lived in Nashville that came from other places that were diehard fans of whatever team. Then the Titans come to town, and they're living in Nashville, and years go by. And so you have your childhood team, but also this team that came to the town you live in. So I can forgive certain situations like that.
All right. You're more generous than I am. 615-737-1045. But to his point about the secondary, listen, Jackrabbit didn't have a great game. He played, I think the best game that we've seen him play this season is against Jacksonville. He was very active. He was able to make some good breakups throughout the course of that game. It's not like he had an outright bad game, but there were some moments where they were clearly going at him in the moments that they weren't going at Breon Borders because he was in and out of the lineup. And for those of you who haven't seen the news on Caleb Farley today, his season is done with a torn ACL, according to multiple reports across the NFL. I saw Kaharski, I saw Schefter, I saw Rappaport today putting that information out there. So, I mean, they have to consider doing something. I don't know that there's anything out there right now, and I can't tell you that I'm intimately familiar with what's available on the cornerback market, but I can tell you that it's probably not good enough to be starting for you on the outside. Now, Breon Borders has played some good snaps for this team last season, given all the injuries that they experienced throughout the course of their 2020 season at that particular position. But I just think that you need to have a better solution, and it'll be interesting to see how conversations around the trade deadline pick up, because I mean, that's you can't go forward with what do they got? They got Jackrabbit, they got Chris Jackson, who was ruled out during that game. So we'll see what happens with Chris Jackson.
Borders.
You have Borders and you have Molden. So you got Jackrabbit for sure. You have Jackrabbit, Molden, and Borders.
So you've lost, obviously, Farley for the season. Fulton was out last night.
Yeah. Fulton on IR, so he's going to for sure miss the Chiefs and the Colts game at the very least. You got to address it one way or another. All right, the lines are loaded up. We're going to talk about this Titans defense before we pivot to Derrick Henry for MVP, because I told you we're going to start the campaign. This is going to be what do I call it when you I'm a terrible Catholic. I should know what this is called when you go to confession and the priest says you have to do
your penance.
Your penance? All right. My penance is a Derrick Henry for MVP campaign. We'll do it next.
The 3HL with Brett Doherty, Don Davenport, and Ron Slay.
Here's the deal. We're so spoiled because we watch Derrick Henry every single weekend, and we forget how freaking fast that dude
No, and what did I say all season on these videos?
Derrick Henry, I believe, slowed down a little bit too in order to give him the stiff arm. Then when he saw him, when he saw it, he was like, darn, dude.
And it was like swatting a flea.
I'll go bunk over that.
Today, starting at 3 on 104.5 The Zone.
team is not just consistency, not just communication, but there are moments when it has flat out, at least in 2021, looked disjointed on both sides of the ball. Now, there's a great many reasons for that, right? There's injuries that have plagued this team as much as any in professional football. The Ravens, I think, are the only team. I think they are the team that has the most players on IR right now. The Lions are second, and it's kind of a funny juxtaposition. One's 5-1, the other's 0-6. God love Dan Campbell. His tears are not enough to save the city of Detroit. But for this Titans team, we were going to learn a whole hell of a lot about them on Monday Night Football against the Bills. And in fact, I'm watching ESPN in the studio right now, and they've just shown Derrick Henry, the first touchdown of the game. Derrick Henry rushing for 76 yards and the score to give them the lead. It was an insane game. How many lead changes total? I think that I think of the last Bills score, that was the 7th. So there would have been 8 lead changes throughout the course of that game. Maybe Lucas can fact check me on that. I believe Teron Davenport had the stats available on his Twitter feed. But what we learned about this team last night is through all of the things that they have experienced through the previous 5 weeks, and Lucas has confirmed that it was, in fact, 8 lead changes in that game, which is just so ridiculous. It was great theater, great drama. I'm happy that there were so many people, a record crowd in Nissan Stadium, to witness that. But what Kevin Byard said last night really stuck out to me about all of the things that they've survived as a group so far and how he believes this unit is battle-tested.
I mean, honestly, throughout the game, it's a lot of up and downs. I kind of been talking about it, the consistency. But one thing I will say about this group, this entire team, is just resiliency. I mean, that's just the word of our team. We've been in a lot of situations since you guys been here, since I've been here. We've been in a lot of tough games, and we usually come out on top of those games because we're battle-tested. And I'm just proud of the way the team fought today. Just a great team effort, honestly.
And it certainly was. It was complimentary football. It was the king and not the one that scored 3 touchdowns last night. It was the one that we stand almost as hard. It was Fat Randy. It was Julio Jones making the most ridiculous circus catch on I don't even know what happened on that play, because there was a flag thrown in the backfield. It looked like it might have been an offsides or excuse me, a false start on the Titans. Then the pass gets ripped down the field because Tannehill thinks he's got a free play for some reason. There's flags all over the Bills secondary because Julio Jones is being pulled and poked and prodded all 6 different ways. And then he somehow tries to catch this ball. It goes up in the air off of his hands. He finds a way to snag it and get both feet in bounds. It was the second 50-plus yard passing play of the Titan season.
And they ruled it incomplete at first. It was a crazy play.
And if Lucas would have let me finish that thought, I would have told you that it's the only 2 plays that have gone for 50-plus yards through the air in the Titans passing game. Now you may blurt your word vomit.
You took too long.
It's called dramatic pause. Aren't you a play-by-play broadcaster?
Yeah,
let it breathe.
It's called laying out.
How many hours we spent in meetings from everybody telling me to slow the hell down?
He did have a free play, though, Tannehill. I think he recognized the free play, and the official ruled him out of bounds and incomplete.
It was an upset. That game was drunk. It was drunker than all of the Bills fans who spent all weekend in Nashville. Thank you, by the way, for all that you have done to boost our economy and to make sure that our bars were full and that our pockets were also full. Thank you very much, Buffalo. Now back to the winter wasteland from whence you came. 615-737-1045. Who's been waiting the longest? Let's go to Rosario, who's in Nashville. He wants to talk about that 4th down stop.
How's it going, guys? Thanks for having me on. 2 quick things I want to say. First of all, I was with one of my good friends yesterday who's a diehard Bills fan. He's from upstate New York, and he was just, as confident of a fan as you could have. But yesterday he was telling me he thought it was a trap game for the Bills. I think there's no doubt now, seeing what's happened over the last couple of years with Derrick Henry, that any team who's coming to play the Titans at home or we're going to play them has got to be terrified watching number 22 line up across from them. He is unbelievable. I'm curious your thoughts on his legacy, and does his legacy change if he plays for a different team, a bigger market team like the Cowboys or somebody like that? Point 2 is, over the last couple of years, the Bills are driving down at the end of the game there, a chance to win. Obviously, that doesn't feel great. Titans defense hasn't been great all year. But when the Bills decided to go for it on 4th and 1, I was pretty confident. Obviously, the odds are not in our favors, but it just seems like for the last 2.5 years, almost every time that the Titans have had to step up and make a big stop, 3rd and short, 4th and short, they've done it. And I can only attribute that to Coach Vrabel. I mean, I think they threw it up on the screen last night. 12 games, now 13 after last night that the Titans have come back and won when they were down in the fourth quarter. I mean, I don't think it can be.
What happened there? Why'd you fade him down so slowly? Rosario, buddy, I appreciate that you waited a half an hour to get on the phone. That's incredible commitment by you, but we only have so much time, and we can't give it to all to one person. Why'd you fade him down like that?
Slowly lay him down.
I just thought he was like disappearing into the sports talk radio caller ether. What was that?
I'm going to start doing it that way. It's way funnier that way.
He just
faded.
That was so mean. He had a
down.
million different points there. All right, let me take the biggest one, okay? Yeah. Listen, it's important. It's great that he's fired up, okay? But Derrick Henry's legacy is the fact that he scored 3 touchdowns. So let me read you some of Derrick Henry's legacy, shall we? Because it's put into these little ESPN stats and info bites each and every week at this point. As we've talked about time and time again, he continues to do things that haven't been done since like 1950 or 1960. It's obscene, and it's also incredibly cool to watch. For Derrick Henry right now, let me count the ways. Derrick Henry, as we mentioned, has had 3 games with 3 rushing touchdowns this season. There's not a single player in the NFL who has done that this season. Derrick Henry has the 9th most rushing yards by any player through his team's first 6 games of a season in NFL history. The most rushing yards through a team's first 6 games in NFL history, 1963, Jim Brown. 931 yards in 1958. Jim Brown, 928 in 1975. O.J. Simpson, 911 in 1973. O.J. Simpson, Terrell Davis, Jamal Lewis, Derrick Henry. Derrick Henry through 6 games has 783 damn yards. In the year of 2021, we're not talking about 1940s. We're not talking about leather helmets and you don't know how to throw a forward pass just yet. You're like chest passing it, like you've seen in those black and white films of like Harvard versus Yale. This is 2021 that he's doing this. It's insane. Derrick Henry's legacy is not yet written. But the best thing that you can say about the legacy of this person and why we are now an MVP, Derrick Henry for MVP show, is because he had 3 touchdowns last night. He had over 100 yards. He has 783 through 6 games. He's on pace to clear 2,100 yards in a 17-game season with ease. Did that look hard to you last night for him? And that's against one of the best defenses in football. 78.4 yards per game on the ground they were allowing. Derrick said, bleep all of you. I'm going to do it in 1 touchdown, damn near. I don't know how. It's honestly to the point where he comes to the podium in press conferences, and I'm just like, yeah, Derrick, so how much greater are you this week than you were last week? Talk about it. It's really, really interesting to see. When we come back, we'll talk about some of the injuries and what they mean. We'll continue this conversation for you because Taylor Lewan, Caleb Farley, Cam Batson, among some of the names that have played meaningful snaps for this team. We'll talk about their larger impact. Take your phone calls as well. 615-737-1045. Rob in Nashville will lead us off on the other side. I'm Buck Reising. It's 1045 The Zone.
The Vols have a Saturday night SEC date with Alabama. And I know at least one person who's calling for an upset.
Hey, yo! Vols fans! Go Vols!
Kickoff is Saturday at 6 on your home for the Vols and SEC 1045 The Zone.
on the touchdown call. 615-737-1045 is how you jump in on the conversation. Now, Lucas has found a stat that I don't believe that I've heard yet. He tried to tell it to me during the commercial break. I all but threw something at the glass to get him to stop doing the show when we're not on the air. Drives me crazy. It's infuriating.
I'm just shocked you didn't see this.
It's good that he's funnier in the commercial breaks than he is on air, because then he might actually have a chance of taking my job. But I would say to you that we need to do less of the show when we're not on the air, bud. What do you have for me?
He was the fastest player in the NFL last night on that 76-yard run.
Well,
reached the top speed.
Wait. You said he was the fastest player in the NFL last night.
Yes, he reached a top speed of 21.8 miles per hour on that 76-yard run. It's the fastest speed reached by a ball carrier this season, and the fastest run of his career.
Okay, well, the better way to have said that stat that you've been sitting on for 7 minutes now is to tell me that he was the fastest player in the NFL. That run made him the fastest player in the NFL last night, because the way that you phrased it made it sound like he was the fastest player in the NFL on Monday.
Anything else?
Your thoughts? It's a good stat. Good job out of you. Give yourself a hell yes from Coach Mack. Why don't
How did you miss this?
What do you mean, how did I miss that?
This stat was all over the place. He was asked about it post-game, asked if he knew that he hit that speed.
I'm busy. What do you mean? I'm sitting in post-game press conferences. I'm trying to tweet out 1 million different quotes from 17 different people that they bring out to the fence line to be interviewed. I think we talked to 6 players at the fence line. I think we talked to 4 on the press conference podium, and then Mike Vrabel. What do you mean, how do I not see that? There's something, I can't see everything. What do you want from me?
I want you to know that stat.
Well, you just told me that, and you did it poorly, so bad job out of you. Liam Neeson. Did Lucas pull that off the way that he thought he was going to?
Yes.
No, it's not true.
Say that to me. Say that to anybody. Say it to somebody.
I just did. It's 1-5-737-1045. Let's go to JD, who's somewhere in the heart of Texas, who wants to weigh in about the tight ends.
Hey, how you doing, Buck? I appreciate you taking my call, man, and I hope y'all are having a blessed day. I'm just a little concerned about the tight end position as a whole. I mean, I know that Derrick Henry takes a lot of pressure off Ryan Tannehill, especially with play action, but another thing that helps the wide receivers is having a good tight end across the middle, and I just don't know if we have that right now, and I'm just kind of curious of your take on that. I know I'm probably beating a dead horse, but just thought I'd ask what you thought about it.
No, it's okay to beat the dead horse if the dead horse is still worth beating. I don't know. Is Peter going to come after me for that? I don't know. Should probably be careful. But, yeah, the tight end production or lack thereof is not great. And it's one of the things that we talk about, thin position groups, right? Because we're going to have a conversation about the injuries that are costing them. And they haven't had injuries other than Tommy Hudson at the tight end position. And I honestly do think Tommy Hudson, now it's not the end-all be-all. I do think Tommy Hudson would make a difference. We've seen him come up with some pretty good plays in his limited opportunities, and we've seen him perform well in practice. But as I look at the receiving numbers for last night, you had Ferkser, who was targeted once, had 1 catch, 11 yards. Jeff Swaim targeted once, 1 catch, 8 yards. And then Michael Pruitt was targeted. Did he get that catch wiped off? I thought he had a catch. That's odd. I can't remember that it says he has a target. It doesn't say that he registered a catch. Maybe that was wiped off due to penalty, and I'm forgetting that particular moment. But the other 3 were hugely efficient. 1 for 1 from Anthony Ferkser, from Jeff Swaim. It's just not doing a lot. Now, it helps when you have the running back doing what he's doing. But in a perfect world, the tight end is not just a safety valve for your quarterback. He's a downfield threat. He's a reliable option on third down. And thus far, that hasn't been the case. It is something that we talked about all offseason long. It continues to be something that's pretty interesting. Now, at this point, they're 4-2 without it. I'm not saying that they don't need it. I'm not saying that it's not going to cost them opportunities, but it hasn't really been a focal point for everything that the tight ends. Let me look at it this way, and I'll have to do a little further research on this after the show. But at least from my perspective, through 6 games, watching Todd Downing's offense, the pass catching opportunities that used to be for the tight ends under Arthur Smith does it not feel like it's going to the running backs in the screen game? Does that not feel like that's where the sacrifice is being made in favor of Derrick Henry? And I know Jeremy McNichols didn't play last night, but does that not feel, I mean, and I'll have to look at it a little more closely to see if there's an actual correlation there. But that's just kind of the first thing that pops into my head. Yeah, they're throwing to the running backs a lot more, and the tight ends are not getting any, hardly getting any targets.
But you didn't really have either last night.
Well, you didn't because McNichols was unavailable, and that, they were going up. Honestly, I thought they looked pretty good in empty sets when they had Blossingame out there on the wing as an extra blocker. Hell, they had him in as the third down back.
They didn't have anybody else?
They don't have Darrington Evans.
Mekhi Sargent was inactive.
Yeah, again, the Mekhi Sargent thing, don't piss me off with and it's nothing personal against Mekhi Sargent, but don't make something out of Mekhi Sargent that doesn't actually exist. I think that's such a Mason Kinsey training camp thing to do. That drives me crazy. They're players on your roster. You may need them in spots, but they're nothing special. Stop making more of them than they actually are.
You don't envision any way of Mekhi Sargent being on a game day roster if McNichols is unavailable?
He was not, no, because they just told, McNichols was supposed to be available.
Yeah.
So maybe in a different world they would have, because he got hurt in warmups.
Right, he went out and back in and then went out.
Right. So, I'm not saying that Sargent wouldn't have been active if McNichols had been ruled out prior to the game taking place. You know what I'm saying? But, let's not make more of that than it actually is. 615-737-1045. Rob has been on hold for nearly an hour. Rob is in Nashville and wants to weigh in.
Hey, thanks for taking my call this morning, Buck. Buck, I think they played a dynamic game yesterday. And, looking at that game and everything, just wanted to see what, you thought about it and everybody else thought about it. I think, through all that adversity that they went through yesterday, that the backups, they came in there and they played excellent. And my thing is, I think if that works for them, I think they need to stick with it. And I don't want to push down on Taylor Lewan, but it seems like, the person that was in there playing his position, they played it better. Well, anyway, that's all I got. I think if something's working, you need to stick with it. And I hope Vrabel look at that, because if it ain't broken, don't try to fix it. If you got backups in there and they continue on keep winning these games, by golly, keep them in there.
Thanks for the call, Rob. Oh, I cut it off before you started to fade him down into the sea.
Yeah, you gotta start letting me do that.
I think that's one of my new favorite bits. I'm a big fan of that. So what I'll say to you is that Taylor Lewan, listen, Ryan Tannehill didn't get sacked for the first time all season last night. He was sacked 20 times leading into that game. He remains at 20. Now, it doesn't mean he didn't get hit, but really, he was getting more separation from his receivers. Turns out having A.J. and Julio in some capacity. By the way, Julio ruled out for a good portion of the second half with a hamstring injury in the fourth quarter. We'll talk about that at length. But the wide receivers getting separation helps. The pass protection, Roger Saffold playing a whole game helps. Taylor Lewan was not playing a bad game prior to leaving and being put in the concussion protocol. And by the way, it was told to us last night by Titans PR that he did have full use of his extremities. I heard from the Titans radio crew that he was up and he was moving around. He was joking. Mike Vrabel said he had talked to him at halftime, and they felt pretty good about everything. What was a scary scene, a very, very scary scene when they brought the card out for him and had to cut his face mask off. But Kendall Lamb, you're correct, Rob. Kendall Lamb did play well. That's much better than I expected it to be. And we were snickering in the press box because we went back to that Vrabel thing about me reporting Tyson Brylo won it out. I got it that time. I got it. Nailed it.
Yeah, good job.
I deserve credit for that. But Mike Vrabel was asked about Tyson Brylo retiring and what impact it would have on the team. Remember, he just kind of he all but snorted and said none whatsoever. Well, I don't know if that's necessarily all that true, but there wasn't a tangible effect last night, and that's a really good defense. I'll say to you that if Taylor's right and he's healthy, get him out there. There's no question that he's better than Kendall Lamb. I know what the optics look like. Don't let your biases trick you into thinking that Kendall Lamb is a superior option on the left side than Taylor Lewan. Because Taylor, up until leaving with potentially a concussion last night, Taylor has put together a pretty impressive stretch of 3 games. 615-737-1045 is the number. Jason is in Murfreesboro. He wants to chime in. What's up, Jason?
Hey, how's it going?
It's going great.
Hey, I was calling about earlier. You asked how can you like 2 teams. So here's what I tell everybody. I am diehard Cowboys my whole life, but since Titans come, I always say diehard Cowboys, but I root for the Titans as long as it's not at the expense of the Cowboys.
Well, I think listen, Lucas brought that up. I think the ruling on that has been decided. The Titans are just a little over 20 years old, and if you had an NFL team prior to the last 20-plus years, then I think you're off the hook. It's always funny to me. There's a lot of Alabama fans that live in Tennessee. There's a lot of Kentucky fans that live in Indiana. I don't get that stuff. 615-737-1045. But let's focus in on the injuries a little more, because Lewan is going to have an impact if he is unavailable. Now, you benefit because Kansas City, the only good defensive player, they have 2 right now. They have the Honey Badger and they have Chris Jones. Everything else on the defense right now, they played a little better against the Washington football team. I don't know what kind of I don't want to kind of flowers you want to give the Kansas City Chiefs for stopping mighty Taylor Heineke and the Washington football team.
J.D. McKissick.
Wow. That's not exactly murderer's row. And a defense, Washington football team was supposed to be much, much better. And I know Ryan Fitzpatrick going out probably affects that, but their defense kind of stinks.
It's been very disappointing.
I would say to you that you can probably skirt it against Kansas City. I don't know if you want to necessarily live that way, but you may have to out of necessity. The Chiefs' defense is very, very bad. They look better on Sunday, but they still remain statistically at the bottom of almost all of the important categories, whether it's points per game, whether it's yards per play. The Chiefs are not a good defense at this juncture.
29.3 points per game.
And that's down, by the way. That's down from 32.
Yeah, because they held them to 13 last week.
They were hemorrhaging points. What are they as far as yards per play right now? Can you look that up for me while I continue to talk about that? But it's not that concerns you, right? You have to be able to keep pace with the Chiefs with the secondary that is missing all manner of parts. Christian Fulton on IR. You did get Amani Hooker back last night. That's going to make a difference. But one comes in, the other goes out.
Dead last in yards per play allowed.
Yeah, they're really, really bad this
6.7.
And again, that's down after playing the Washington football team. So kudos for the Chiefs for getting right against Taylor Heineke. But you have no Caleb Farley. He's confirmed done for the year. Well, not confirmed. We'll find out from Mike. You think Mike's going to tell us today because we're gonna roll that press conference at 12:30. You think Mike's going to tell us Caleb Farley's done for the year?
Not if he doesn't have to.
Yeah, I don't think that's going to happen. We'll see. But reportedly, not confirmed, but reportedly, Caleb Farley is done for the year with an ACL tear. Christian Fulton is on IR for at least the next 2 games. Your Chris Jackson situation, I thought he held up pretty good. I thought Chris Jackson played much better on the outside than I expected him to. But he was ruled out with, I believe, a foot last night in the fourth quarter of that game, according to Titans radio. So then you put Breon Borders out there, and Josh Allen repeatedly went at Breon Borders with a fair amount of success. So now you get Pat Mahomes, and listen, Mahomes hasn't been playing all that well. I think there's something still lingering from that turf toe that caused him to, his passes have been more erratic, because it used to be that Pat Mahomes would make a pass and you said, okay, he got lucky that time. He got lucky that time. He got lucky that time. And then it happened so frequently, so often that you were like, oh, this guy's just freakish good, that he can actually curl a football around a defender and get it to Travis Kelce when he's clearly not open. Now he's taking those risks, and it's not panning out the way that it is used to, or that Mahomes is used to having it panned out. In fact, he's turning the ball over at a pretty unfortunate rate for the Chiefs and their offense. But you have to find a way to weather the storm. Now, they're going to have to do something on the roster throughout the course of this week, depending on the health of Chris Jackson And now with Caleb Farley, I would assume that they would place him on IR sooner rather than later. But it is going to take a still pretty Herculean effort to stop Patrick Mahomes after riding as high as you did last night against the Buffalo Bills. The injuries, at least they're getting better on the offensive side of the football. And I'm sure Mike Vrabel today is going to be asked about ruling Julio Jones out in the fourth quarter of that game. I saw him make a couple plays and come skipping gingerly over to the sideline in the second half. And at that point, when he wasn't in on it was a 3rd and 6. The Titans' second to last, I guess if you want to call the kneel down, the Titans' last drive. It's the Titans' field goal drive that he came off on 3rd down. It was a 3rd and 6, and he came off, took his helmet off, and we all looked around like, yeah, he's probably done for the night. And they had done a little bit of that without ruling A.J. Brown out, but they had put A.J. Brown on a limited number of snaps that he was going to take against the Jags. So that seemed to be the same train of thought. Now, whether Mike says that they put Julio Jones on a snap count yesterday remains to be seen. But these injuries, now you're starting to get a little more right on offense, but the defense, at least in the back end, where you cannot afford to have it because of the explosive plays that they have given up, you're not in a good spot against Kansas City, against the Indianapolis Colts, and then on Sunday Night Football on the road against the Rams. 615-737-1045. Let's shake things up, shall we? Let's invite Darrington into the proceedings. Darrington, my guy, how are we?
What's going on, bud? Hey, Lucas, next time Buck get on your nerves, because I think you did a great job with that stat, I think you just fade him out big time.
I was thinking the same thing, Darrington. Yeah, Lebowski told me that too.
I'm just saying, I just think it sounds good to me. The Lucas Van Ziegler show, Get a little Italiano a little bit, maybe a little bit.
Oh,
an early rack,
a self rack,
a pre rack.
I just say it sounds good. But anyway, back to the game at hand. With this 26th ranked quarterback this year, who's paying for that $1.5 million because he took that pay cut. Yeah, Buffalo lost the game. Tennessee didn't win that game.
Oh, stop it.
Let's be real.
Darrington, stop it.
Julio Jones jersey yesterday.
Stop it.
Darrington.
You were wearing a Julio. You got hit in the face by a Bills fan because you were wearing a Julio Jones jersey.
Hey, hold on. Are we not going to discredit a 101 kick-out return by a holding penalty? They lost the game. Josh Allen slipped. They could have easily kicked the field goal, went to overtime, and possibly won the game. Hey, I give it to him. I give it. Hey,
you didn't give it to them. You're literally doing the opposite. You're trying to take it from them.
I give them credit for the effort. They survived the Bills last night, but they did it to the detriment of themselves. Now, like you were saying, Patty Mahomes, he already has 8 interceptions. Once again, please somebody tell me who has Buffalo beat besides Kansas City. My homeboy already has 8 interceptions. They have not even beat nobody, so their defense is not really good. Suspect, if you ask me. The Tua, the Texans, come on, really? They ain't played nobody. Like you said, Heineke, really? And then you put the 26th ranked quarterback of this year, Ryan Tannehill, out there? Yeah. All I'm saying is they got a chance, but I think their defense, how much, and Derrick Henry winning MVP, we got another chance of that with Tom Brady playing like he's playing and Dakota Rain playing like he's playing.
There's that.
And Aaron Rodgers still owns Chicago. Rack him.
No, you get a reverse rack. Coach Dave McGinnis, does Darrington deserve to have his rack reversed in that moment?
Not yes, hell yes.
What is he talking about?
I can't figure that guy out, man.
Oh, that's the beauty of it. This is just an insane person.
He's taking punches for the Titans yesterday, and now he's delivering them.
Yeah. Hey, Darrington, it's called football. Yeah, guys can slip on a 4th and 1 sneak, and it costs them the game.
Still happened.
It still happened.
Who was that? Jason McIntyre yesterday?
Oh, my God, that idiot. What is Fox Sports doing? Let me. Should I just go ahead and rip their cast of characters up and down and I mean, you got Jason McIntyre with the most dumbass tweet I have ever seen in my life. And then they double down this morning on what's it called?
Chris Broussard.
Speak for you or speak for yourself or whatever the bleep. I almost said the word.
Yeah.
You got Chris Broussard saying Taylor Lewan, They didn't get the 4th and 1 sneak. Buffalo didn't because Taylor Lewan went out of the game. Chris Broussard had no idea that Taylor Lewan actually plays for the Tennessee Titans and not the Buffalo Bills.
And McIntyre said, outside of the Derrick Henry 76-yarders, Bills have done a damn good job on Henry. His other 19 carries, 67 yards.
You can't do it without the 76-yard touchdown.
Doesn't work that way.
It doesn't work.
It reminds me of something that came up in my memories a couple days ago of a Butch Jones thing at a press conference for Tennessee where he said, we would have won the game if we had scored more touchdowns.
God almighty. You know, that's a perfect transition. Let's do winners and losers of the football weekend next.
The Titans showed the country what they can do by taking care of the Bills on Monday Night Football.
Allen tried to sneak. He got nothing, or so it appeared. They got it! They did it! They did it! Yes! Not yes! Not yes! Hell yes!
Talk about it all day today on your home for Titans football. 104.5 The Zone.
Now, new role with Titans Radio. Master of the scoreboard update. Buck Reising back here with you until 1 o'clock. Mike Vrabel going to meet with the media in just about, 30 minutes from now? No, rather 45 minutes from now is when Mike Vrabel will address the media, and we will, I'm sure, hear about, or not hear about, the Julio Jones situation and get a minimal update on all injuries from the Titans. Taylor Lewan, Caleb Farley, Julio Jones, Cam Batson. A lot of critical ones over the course of last night's game, but a win nonetheless, 34-31 over the Buffalo Bills on Monday Night Football. But now it is time for winners and losers of the football weekend. Circus music means one thing. We have entered the tent. It is time to celebrate and or mock somebody who has done something foolish. Oh, there's the trapdoor. Somebody just fell into it. I think it was Brian Flores who lost in London to Urban Meyer and the Jags. Oh, no. Down the trapdoor, Brian Flores goes. Lucas Panzica, you want to win? You want to give a winner or a loser first?
Loser first. Chipotle into the trapdoor.
Oh,
Sorry,
no.
Chipotle.
Where's the trapdoor?
I did not have the audio from A.J. Brown. I couldn't find it anywhere of him talking about what gave him food poisoning over the weekend, but he caved. He said Chipotle. Sorry, Chipotle. Probably won't get any endorsements. And now the hunt is on to find out which Chipotle in Nashville gave A.J. Brown food poisoning. Chipotle managers everywhere are trembling in fear.
Well, respectfully, and I don't want to, maybe I shouldn't be reckless with this, but there's one over by the Titans practice facility I've been to several times. We will not say anything negative in this regard because we were not the ones who got food poisoning. But I did some very important follow-up investigative journalism about this. Avoid the chicken burrito at all costs.
Is it bad that now I really want Chipotle?
No, yes, it's really, really bad because A.J. Brown wore Jordans to his post-game media availability because it was his flu game. And then I put on social media that it was, in fact, his flu game.
The Instagram story of him leaning on the Photoshop of him over MJ leaning on Scottie Pippen with Derrick Henry as Pippen was amazing. Well done. Chef's kiss.
And we'll get to AJ Brown here in just a second. Who was the winner of the football weekend?
Aaron Rodgers.
Yes. I still own you.
He still owns the Chicago Bears. He's 22-5 in his career against Chicago, a divisional opponent. 11-3 at Soldier Field. He does indeed own the Chicago Bears.
It's true. So I will start first with the loser of the football weekend, and we'll keep it Titan-centric. A.J. Brown, he was admirable in his performance. He converted several critical first downs and gave the Titans passing game some life. But he was coming off of illness. He was dealing with food poisoning. Shout out Chipotle and the alleged chicken burrito. There's the trapdoor. But A.J. Brown fell through the trapdoor when Derrick Henry came to the podium last night and was asked, what was it like to have A.J. Brown back in the lineup? Your passing game looked like it normally does. You were able to get some explosive plays down the field. It was all well and good. And what Derrick Henry had to say, and I will read you the exact quote from King Henry himself, who took his teammate out publicly and said of A.J. Brown, we just needed to make sure that we had enough toilet paper for him. Laughed and said, "Nah, I'm just playing." That's a tough one. That one didn't make the transcripts, unfortunately for us. The winner of the football weekend, baby, it's Urban Meyer. Who got in the win column?
That's back-to-back weeks for Urban.
John Gruden? Oh, as a nominee?
I had him as my winner last week.
My God, look
what a
at
comeback.
The sun is coming up in Jacksonville, baby. Except it's not in Jacksonville because the Jaguars had to go to their, of course, home field in London to be able to win a game against the stinky Miami Dolphins. Urban Meyer, back-to-back. Winner of the football weekend. Golf clap for Uncle Herb. Now just stay out of the Pine House and no more Shelly Teenies after dark. That's winners and losers of the football weekend. I feel good about what we just did. I love the trapdoor. The trapdoor makes me laugh.
Chipotle through the trapdoor.
Chipotle straight through the trapdoor.
Probably going to order some later today.
Which, invites a visual of what was going on in the bathroom of A.J. Brown regarding trapdoors. 615-737-1045. Oh, who's been waiting the longest here, Lucas? I can't tell based off the screener. I think it's Bam in Nashville who wants to weigh in. What's up, Bam?
Feeling.
We are great.
Bro, I'm exhausted. I was at the game last night, and it was
was a few things that kind of like made you hold your breath for a minute, like when they tried to do the Music City Miracle last night.
Oh my God, we haven't even talked about that.
Yeah, that was like super petty, but it was like it was just the energy in the building that went up when they did that. But I wanted to actually say the offense last night, it wasn't so predictable. I actually kind of liked that they took it a step further and they started flinging it a little bit more, which they need to get the chemistry together. You know what I'm saying? The defense played really chippy. You could tell they made Josh. He's just a freak of nature, but they took him out of his element somewhat. So that was a beautiful thing, man. It was a hard-fought game, but, man, that Music City Miracle play, bro, if they would have pulled that off again, and then Josh Allen them said, well, we got something for y'all anyway. But either which way it go, I feel good about going into the game Sunday. I just wanted your opinion on how you felt the offense, kind of switch things up a little bit.
Well, thanks for the call, Bam. 615-737-1045. So the best indicator outside of, the final margin of victory and the scoring to kind of judge the offense, yards per play, right? So, all right, let's play some trivia, Lucas, before we get out of here. What do you think the Tennessee Titans were averaging this season in terms of yards per play?
All the first and second down 1-yard runs, I'm going to guess 3.5.
You're off by 2, 5.5, but that's still 22nd in the league. Do you know what they were averaging over the course of their last 3?
Last 3 games?
Last 3 games.
Say 4.4.
5.7. So it's gotten a little better as they've gotten healthier. Do you know what they were averaging in terms of yards per play last night?
Few big plays probably broke it open. 6.8.
7.1.
Wow.
The Titans' offense was rolling last night. It's been a long time since it's looked like that, and it's no mystery that A.J. Brown and Julio Jones in a limited capacity and Derrick Henry doing the things that he was doing, you were able to find some kind of semblance of the 2020 offense that was so successful a year ago. And also, it came at a time when you were getting tremendous defensive stops. We will talk about this more at length before we go to Mike Vrabel's press conference at St. Thomas Sports Park, and we hear about all of the updates from last night after the head coach has had the opportunity to watch the film. Your phone calls as well. Chris and Smyrna will lead us on the other side. I'm Buck Reising. It's 104.5 The Zone.
Blaine Bishop and Mickey Ryan.
What is going on? This team won the division last year, has a chance to moonwalk away with the division this year, can't get out of its own way.
To me, when you're young, injured from what? I mean, let's go. Got Farley here, he's practicing, he's getting back into a groove, and then boom, shoulder. Yeah, we need these guys in the worst way, so, because you're like, hey, you just got here. You're not even beat up yet.
Right.
Not the NFL beat up.
Right. Today from 1 to 3 on 104.5 The Zone.
ridiculousness, lost in all of the fervor, in the unthinkable victory that the Titans pulled off against the Buffalo Bills, 34-31, Monday Night Football for all the world to see. Was this, I mean, I don't know what to call it, because it happened so early on that I completely forgot about it. You know, we didn't ask Mike Vrabel about this in the postgame press conference?
Yeah, shocked by that. Like, as soon as it happened, my first thought was, I can't wait to hear what Mike Vrabel says about it.
Well, if they'd have lost, that'd have been the first question we'd ask him. Hey, Mike.
I'm sure he'll hear about it today.
Hey, Mike.
Blue, my roommate, said Bills fans in the stands were screaming it was a forward pass. He was dying laughing, his veins popping out. That was a forward pass. Can you imagine if they didn't call that one?
Well, I mean, because it's all exacerbated by Adam Schefter, who's on Monday Night Football pregame last night. He's like, yeah, it was a forward pass, the Music City Miracle.
Truther.
He's one of these. Is it possible that QAnon has a Music City Miracle section of the population? Is Adam Schefter a part of this tinfoil hat-wearing segment of society?
Mickey Ryan's been on this for forever, by the way. He doesn't follow Adam Schefter because of this.
What?
Schefter is Mickey has talked about it multiple times before last night, that he will not follow Adam Schefter on Twitter because he is a Music City Miracle truther, always has been.
Is Schefter a Bills fan?
No, he claims he was in the press box that day. He was a beat writer for I can't remember what newspaper publication, and claims in the pregame he said he was in the press box after an official of multiple decades in the NFL explained why it was a legal play with Susie Colbert. Schefter said, I was in the press box. I was right above the play. It happened right below me. It was a forward pass.
You're kidding me.
No, he stood by it. He stuck to his guns last night.
I love that Mickey doesn't follow Adam Schefter.
He's talked about it multiple times.
That's so stupid. It's so stupid on both of their parts.
I respect it. Mickey stands his ground. He
no,
will not,
I don't respect that.
He will not do it.
Directly affecting how we do our job. To not follow Adam Schefter. But you know what? There's some pride in that. I don't even know what to make of that. But yeah, so they looked like they were getting ready, like things were not going well on offense, right? So they're looking for a little juice last night against the Bills. Now, special teams trick plays is something that Mike Vrabel has come into his own on. He often goes into his bag if he feels like they need a little bit of a pick-me-up, whether it's Matthias Farley or who was it that threw a pass to was it Matthias Farley that threw a pass to Amani Hooker this year on a fake punt? I believe that was the case, maybe against the Cardinals. You had the Kevin Byard to Dane Cruikshank touchdown pass in the 2018 season when it was Blaine Gabbert starting at quarterback and your starting tackles were Tyler Merritz and Kevin Palm Field. I remember that forever. We asked him how to say his name, and he held out his palm and said Palm, and then he touched his arm and said Field.
And then you have the ones that didn't work, like when Brett Kern saw Jesus before Devin White took him out.
He saw Devin White before he saw Jesus. That's how fast Devin White was moving. It wouldn't go towards the light, sweet punter. Don't go into that cold, dark night. It's, oh, my God, who is number 45, and why is he moving that fast? That's as scared as I've ever been for Brett Kern. 615-737-1045. So they're looking for a little something, right? It's early on in the game. It's the first half, and Vrabel says, all right, let's dial one up. Now, I'd be fascinated to see what Mike has to say about this at his press conference. So they pulled out a recreation of the Music City Miracle, which is, of course, if you were uninitiated, Buffalo, when Buffalo punted at the end of the first quarter. So this time it was clearly and obviously a forward pass. Refs gave the Titans a penalty, and the Bills fans rejoiced because finally they felt vindicated. And I'm certain that they feel less good about the fact that it was called a forward pass after taking a fat L today. And it was laugh out loud funny because Frank Wycheck, who I hope is doing well. I know Frank's had a tough time with it over the last couple of years. A lot of hardship in his life. But Frank Wycheck miraculously appears on Twitter, @ Adam Schefter, and says, no, I was there too, Adam, and it was, in fact, not a forward lateral, talking about the Music City Miracle. But that one was. That was really cool to see that take place. I cannot believe that we just forgot about it.
It was there. The play was there. It just wasn't executed.
No, it was just forward.
It was like a 6-yard completion.
Do we have Mike and Mac's call of that? Because I bet that was kind of funny.
I do need to track that down.
All right, very good. We'll do that another day. 615-737-1045. Let's go to Dub in Nashville who wants to chime in. What's up, Dub?
Hey, how's it going?
It's going great.
Man, definitely just wanted to start up by saying tighten up. Glad we got that win yesterday. Came out strong. But one thing, hate to see Farley get hurt, but with his, problems and issues with his back, his knee, you see he who shall remain nameless last year with Will, being a first-round pick, Evans not, looking too strong that we'll bring him back. Is it time for the Titans to start trading in the first-round picks and getting premier talent like the Rams to really get the Super Bowl push going on, or do we keep on really trying to draft because, they seem not to be showing up. Simmons did, thank God, yesterday, but what are you going to do with his first-round picks, man, with John Robinson and the team, man? But tighten up, man. Happy for the win. Can't wait to see what we do against the Chiefs next week.
Hey, thanks for the call, buddy, and appreciate your patience. Caleb Farley, of course, according to multiple reports, tore the ACL, and he is now in a long line of questionable acquisitions across free agency and the draft, certainly in the last 2 seasons, right? So it's not Caleb Farley's fault. He got his first NFL start. He was incredibly excited. They introduced the defense first yesterday on Monday Night Football, like when they run out of the tunnel, which I always thought, I don't know. I don't know why I thought that was so curious, why they would do that in front of a sellout crowd. But Caleb Farley comes out of the tunnel. He's fired up. He's ready to go. He's getting picked on very early in that game. And then he has a collision with his teammate and ends up with a torn ACL. He's going to miss the rest of the season. His situation, you can look at this and say, well, John Robinson gambled once with Jeff Simmons and it panned out before. Was Caleb Farley the same kind of gamble, or do you even consider Jeffrey Simmons a gamble? They would tell you flat out no. They felt confident in the vetting process with everything that swirled around Big Jeff at the time. They felt confident in the repair of his ACL tear that he experienced right before the NFL Combine that February. And Jeff Simmons is now one of the more premier talents playing across interior defensive lines in the country. With Farley and with the trading of the first-round picks, because Dub's right, like the Rams do this. The Rams and the Seahawks don't give a damn about first-round picks. But you cannot continue to sustain your strength as an organization if you cannot find a way to build your team organically. The free agency, it can be a useful tool. The trading of players for first-round picks, it can be a successful thing. But the Rams, they did that before their Super Bowl appearance, their loss to Tom Brady and the New England Patriots in Atlanta a couple of years ago. And then they found themselves in a bit of a hole. Now, Jared Goff may be a big part of that. And now they have Matt Stafford, which alleviates a lot of your roster concerns. I just think if you can find ways to improve your drafting, and listen, the draft is a nightmare as far as hits and misses are concerned, but you can look at John Robinson today and say, it's just, I understand the mitigating circumstances. I understand that it's not the player's fault that they suffered injury. You may have gotten got by Isaiah Wilson, but outside of that, this team has been constructed well. But they cannot continue to not get impact from their draft classes. And Christian Fulton was probably their most consistent defensive player prior to being put on IR. So what I'll say to you is that I don't know that it's worth straight up changing the strategy wholesale and shipping off picks for proven players and just punting on the first round the way that we've seen the Rams kind of approach drafts in the last couple of years. But there does need to be a serious reevaluation process heading into the draft this year about how much they're willing to gamble on players with pre-existing conditions isn't the right word, but coming off of injury when you need guys to have an impact now. We'll continue to talk about it on the other side. Mike Vrabel will speak to the media, and we'll carry that press conference for you as well. We'll continue to take your calls. 615-737-1045 is the number. 615-737-1045. I'm Buck Reising. It's 1045 The Zone.
Jason Martin and 11-year NFL vet Ramon Foster.
I've had younger guys be like, big homie, I don't feel like this doesn't feel right. You know what I would tell them? Don't. If you go out there and you get shot up and you get hit, not only do you have broken ribs, you got something to puncture your lung. This type of stuff happens all the time in the game. Now that we know more, it's a little bit inexcusable.
J-Mart and Ramon. Tomorrow starting at 6 on 1045 The Zone.
the roster because Mike Vrabel is going to take the podium here in just about 9 minutes. So we'll carry that live for you. Taylor Lewan has tweeted out, "Thank you for all the thoughts and prayers. I'm all right. Hashtag no bad days." So Taylor Lewan seems to be in good standings, in good spirits. We'll find out from Vrabel whether he is still in the concussion protocol because that was how he ended up or what he was ruled out with after he left the field on the cart yesterday. It was pretty scary. One of two players, well, three players, right? Cam Batson got carted off the field as well. Caleb Farley, Cam Batson, Taylor Lewan, all dealing with various situations. So what I want to kind of talk about here is how close are the Titans over the next couple of games? Because Indy right now is not in a great spot. They just got their second win. It was over the miserable Houston Texans on Sunday, but their schedule remains weak enough that they can continue to hold serve while the Titans try and muscle their way through this incredibly difficult stretch, including the Bills game of 4 games, right? Hosting Buffalo, hosting Kansas City, at Indy, and at the LA Rams on Sunday Night Football. For the Colts, the road is much, much easier. They, of course, have just beaten the Houston Texans. They are going to play at the 49ers on Sunday Night Football this weekend, which will be an interesting game. Is Jimmy G going to play in that game? Do we have any idea?
No, I'm not sure what his status is.
Because Trey Lance did some stuff. I know they didn't win on Sunday without Garoppolo, but he's capable. I think that there are some promising things. I just don't think he's ready to help this team, put this team over the top.
Garoppolo did practice yesterday.
Okay, so worth paying attention to. The Colts at the 49ers on Sunday Night Football this week. Of course, they'll host the Titans on Halloween, and then they host the Jets on Thursday Night Football because Thursday Night Football this week was not punishment enough. They'll instead subject you to the Colts and the Jets. So it's possible that here's what this means, okay? Because the Jets, if the Colts beat the Jets, they own a tiebreaker over you. But you can negate that if you just kill the Colts in their crib on Halloween in their place, right? But their schedule is meh enough over the course of this past game and then their next 3 that they can climb their way back into the division. Now, you did yourself such a massive service by beating Buffalo last night. Not only is it great for morale, not only does it inspire your fan base, it inspires your players. It helps you push through just a little bit harder when your body might start to ache and to just creak and groan. And God, I don't know how Derrick Henry does it because everybody else is moving out there. I mean, Caleb Farley is a rookie first-round draft pick. He's just come into the league, and he moves like a 60-year-old man out there. Did you notice that? Coming off the back injury, he's got a shoulder injury. Now he's torn his ACL, and I don't mean to pile on Caleb Farley today, but damn, football looks like it's already happening to Caleb Farley, and he's just recently become a pro.
First drive was tough. He had one really good snap in the end zone where he had Stephon Diggs covered up in the corner. But, yeah, it's tough to watch. Obviously emotional, too, as he left the game.
Speaking of injuries, Ravens left tackle is it Ronnie Stanley? Yeah, Ronnie Stanley is now ruled out for the season. He's just been placed on IR with an ankle injury.
That's a big loss.
Ravens sitting atop the conference right now at 5-1. That's a massive loss for Baltimore. So, I mean, Baltimore's dealt with more injuries. They've got more players on IR than any team in football right now.
And it started 3 weeks before the season.
Right, with all their literally all of their running backs
every single
going
one
down. So, where are the Titans? I mean, and this is the thing about how you stack up in the conference now, right? Because it's not just a conversation about the division. After you beat Buffalo, it's a conversation about, all right, well, where are they in the standings? Because now as you sit there at the 3 seed, Buffalo's schedule is pretty soft throughout the rest of the year. They've probably got 1, maybe 2 games left against teams with a winning record. They've got Tampa in December. Maybe Carolina or New Orleans would be the other possibilities. But the Bills' schedule gets a hell of a lot softer now that they've got the Chiefs and the Titans out of the way. Now, for the Ravens who sit atop the conference, because remember, now in the expanded playoff format, only one NFL team, the top of the conference in the AFC and the AFC, get that bye week now that they've extended not just the regular season, but the postseason as well. So you look at the Ravens the rest of the way through, sitting at 5-1. They will host the Bengals. They will host the Vikings. They will play at the stinky Miami Dolphins on Thursday Night Football, at Bears, hosting Browns, at Steelers, at Browns, versus Packers. Okay, nobody cares about me reading the Ravens schedule. Ravens schedule's not easy, though. And I know Baker Mayfield's in a bad spot right now. They play 3 division opponents 3 straight weeks. That seems hell. They play – that's a terrible schedule gaffe by the NFL. They play 4 division opponents in 5 weeks, and the one non-division opponent is Green Bay at home. Man,
gross.
They could that could rough the Ravens up.
We thought it was bad when the Titans played the Texans twice in 3 weeks.
Wow, that sucks. Hosting Browns, at Steelers, at Browns, hosting Green Bay, at Bengals. That's trash.
That's a murderer's row.
They've got 5 division opponents in 7 weeks. Down that stretch. That could spiral for them in a hurry.
That'll decide the division right there, that stretch.
God. So Baltimore seems they've chewed up their early part of the schedule, right? Raiders, Chiefs, Lions, Broncos, Colts, and then handling the Chargers in a way that I think people thought that game was going to be a lot closer. I myself thought that was probably the game of the week, and then Justin Herbert looked very, very mortal all of a sudden against a really good Baltimore defense. But it would be tough for the Titans to make up ground, except for the Ravens, who are just going to fall. They have the potential to fall all over themselves. Now, Lamar, if you want to make an MVP, so here's the people that I'll take an MVP case for. I will take MVP cases for Derrick Henry. I will take MVP cases for Tom Brady. I will take MVP cases for Dak Prescott and Kyler Murray. Lamar Jackson right now is borderline. But the biggest crime, well, that's not true. I don't want to sound callous about all the just horrific things John Gruden was accused of doing and saying. But the worst part of that from a football on the field standpoint is Gruden just totally stole the spotlight from what was as good a performance by Lamar Jackson in the second half of that Colts. What was that, Monday Night Football as well last week?
Yeah, last week.
Monday Night Football between the Colts and the Ravens. Lamar Jackson had the best second half of any quarterback. He had the best performance of any quarterback I've seen this year, I think. Even though Tom Brady is, throwing for 5 touchdowns and nobody's paying attention because he's just doing it off in the NFC while he's toiling and waiting for another Super Bowl ring.
There's been some great ones. Dak Prescott put up more yards than any offense against a Bill Belichick coach defense in history on Sunday.
See, this is what I was afraid of because I had Sunday off, right? The Titans played on Monday night. I was like, I should probably watch football, and then I watched almost no football.
3 overtime games.
I know. I missed I heard the Cowboys-Patriots game was spectacular. I'll probably go back and watch that on Game Pass at some point this week. But for the Titans, the Ravens are the most susceptible of the teams that are still ahead of you. I still am a believer in the Chargers. I still am a believer in the Buffalo Bills because the Titans did everything they could to hold them down last night, and Buffalo still got 31 points. You know what I'm saying? Like, they're not a bad football team. They played you as close to the wire rather, it should be stated that the Titans played the Bills closer to the wire than any team not named Pittsburgh this season. But I would say that the focus still should be on those divisional games. A win against the Bills is fantastic. A win against the Chiefs would be like the cherry on top of your sundae. But the only game that matters out of these next 3 to me, they all matter. The only game that matters of more importance is the Colts. You have to kill the Colts. You have to take control of your division decisively the way that you took control of your home field environment against a better football team and you came out as the better football team. So Mike Vrabel is going to be asked a lot of questions about this. He's going to be asked a lot of questions about Julio Jones, about the Music City Miracle that wasn't last night, because he is getting ready to head to the podium. They've just started the live stream on the Titans website right now. So we'll go out to St. Thomas Sports Park whenever Lucas is ready. If I have the green light, let's go to Mike Vrabel.
To do a quick turnaround for Sunday.
Like it always is, find out who's available, who's going to be okay. And, much of that we'll monitor throughout the week and see where guys are. And then, make sure that we have everybody that's on the roster, whether they be on the active roster or the practice squad, ready to go.
Given the situation with Farley and Fulton probably not available, the next man up mindset, how much does that apply to Chris Jones? What are some of the things that you like from him?
Yeah, Chris has been with us. Certainly somebody that we'll look at. Body's been with us for a while, been working, practicing, and so, confident that if those guys, get an opportunity, they'll do everything they can to take advantage of it.
What's the balance between when you're down at a position between bringing a practice squad guy that maybe doesn't have very much experience versus going outside and bringing in somebody that doesn't really know your system?
Yeah, I think that's the biggest thing is what have they been doing? Have they, how much work have they been putting in? Where are they at physically? Also, where are they at mentally as far as, picking up the scheme and how much work that requires in just a short amount of time. So, we're looking at a lot of those things and working our way through them.
Having a little fun last night, or paying tribute to the Music City Miracle with the lateral on the punt and the fake on the kickoff?
No, just trying, fun. Winning is fun. That's the only thing that's fun. There's nothing fun about letting the gunner go through two guys and disrupt the play. It was a play that we thought we could take advantage of. Unfortunately, we didn't hit it.
Any further update on Taylor Lewan at this point? How is he doing?
I saw Taylor this morning. I would say all signs lead to him being in the concussion protocol. So I would say he's doing as well as he could be. But I saw him this morning.
What on the returns you mentioned earlier, I guess was the idea that first one kind of set up the second one because you didn't throw it?
No, one was on a kickoff, one was on a punt. We're just trying to create some big plays there and do something in the return game.
What was going so well with the pass protection yesterday to keep Tannehill upright for pretty much the whole game?
Just blocked inside out, ran him by on the outside. I think our ability to run the football and our ability to work the play pass and play action pass game in the second half is something that was critical. So anytime we can do that and keep Ryan clean, that's a positive. And credit to the guys that were in there.
What'd you get out of Avery Williamson last night?
I'm sorry?
Avery Williamson, what'd you get out of him? How did he play?
I didn't have many snaps in the game, so again, he was a guy that we brought in on short notice. We tried to learn two positions, and we'll continue to work with Avery. Loved his attitude, the way he came in here. It was fun. I never had a chance to coach him before. When I got here, he headed out in free agency, which was great for him. But he came in here with a great attitude. Really enjoyed having his presence around last week, and then we'll continue to progress with him this week.
The injury to Cam Batson is in fact a torn ACL, and I know he's a guy that you really like. How disappointing is that for?
Well, I don't like to see any of our players get injured. I care a lot about them all. And so it's unfortunate when we lose any of them. We understand the risk associated with this game and playing it at the level and the speed in which they do. So hopefully all those guys that got hurt last night or that will continue to get hurt, we'll take care of them. We'll do everything that we can to get them back and take care of them physically and mentally.
Jeff had the big splash play, obviously, at the end of the game last night. That's a position where sometimes it's hard to judge by statistics how a guy's playing. What has his impact been throughout the course of the season, and has he taken his game to another level in the last
Well, I think he's still trying. I think there's things that we still, work with Jeff and show him on. But, I think his leadership, first and foremost, is something that's, been great. I think that, his effort, he plays a lot of snaps for us. And so his effort for a big man is very good. His physicality, he's fun to coach. He's coachable, takes the coaching. His team means a lot to him, so he's an important piece of who we are.
Ryan Tannehill completed 9 straight passes down the stretch. What makes him so clutch in those moments?
Well, I think experience. We've played a lot of close games, unfortunately, but I think experience of being in those moments, I think the things settled down for him. I don't think Ryan was great. I don't think a lot of us were great early in the game. Just kind of got into the flow of some drives and got into a much better rhythm offensively.
You talk about guys who love football. How important is that attitude in those close games when you, like you just talked about?
I think that anytime times get tough, whether that's injuries or adversity, close situations, I think that guys that truly love it will find a way to get through. And I don't know if it's in a close situation or close game, but it's usually when things aren't great and things are not in your favor. The guys that love their teammates and love the game usually find ways to get through.
How did Hooker do in his first game back off IR?
Good. I thought Amani was prepared. I thought he was active, and that's he was playing well before he got hurt, and hopefully we'll see him progress through the week without any setbacks after some game action.
It looked like the front seven struck a good balance between affecting the pocket, affecting the quarterback, and preventing him from running, staying disciplined. What was your assessment of, I guess, the play on the quarterback?
I thought it was okay. It was good at times, and then there were times, obviously, we talked about it, going to our left, or his right, and that's where he made plays, and that's where we try to show him. I try to show him. When he goes out there to the right, it usually doesn't end in a positive play for the defense, and that was the case again last night. So, but there were other times where it was really good. And we affected them, and but we got to try to do a little bit more.
Obviously, a lot of talk about resiliency last night. You guys won 13 games that you trailed in the fourth quarter over the last 3 years. Where does that start? Where does that come from?
Just trying to put a group of guys together that care about each other, that that don't panic, that understand that then you're going to play in some tight games in this league, and again the experience of it, the type of people that we have, the messages that we preach. It's a impressive, interesting stat. We'd like to not be down, but we certainly find ways to win and have a lot of faith in our guys to execute.
Putting it 1 week at a time or one game at a time mindset aside, how do you look at these next 4 games? Because it seems like that's going to be like the toughest stretch on your schedule.
Just looking at really today, our preparation, our meetings. We'll figure out where we go after this week. We're home, against really one of the best teams in the NFL. However you want to, slice it. It'll be a huge challenge for us on a short week to get back, to get ready. To play an explosive offense and, a defense that is going to be, geared up, ready to try to stop us.
Was this stretch one that you guys kind of circled and looked at?
No, I don't circle any games. They're all in the same color. Some are on the road, some are at home, some are on Monday nights, some are on Sunday, some are on Thursdays.
What's your level of trust in?
Other than I think we go to Boston around Thanksgiving because Tyler's home. So I did look at that one.
What's your level of trust in Westbrook-Akine at this point after he steps up again?
The same way it was last week and the week before, and just kind of expect him to do his job, and he's done that. And went in there, got key blocks, had some key catches, plays on special teams for us.
How do you describe David Long's growth curve so far this year?
Plays with a lot of energy, plays with a lot of speed, quickness. it's never going to be perfect in there, but David shows a sense of passion and love watching him play. He throws his body around, and so do all guys, all the guys out there. So I think he's getting more comfortable each and every week. Saw him blitz and affect the quarterback, and saw him do some things. And obviously there'll be some plays that we have to coach up and that he'd like to have back, but he's very active.
You feel like with Julio, is this kind of going to be what you expect? That maybe he's good enough to go full games. Maybe there are going to be some games where, the hamstring keeps him out a bit.
We'll just take it day by day, see how it goes tomorrow.
What's it like when
That's Mike Vrabel. We had to get the Julio one in. I just texted people at the press conference. Why has nobody asked about Julio Jones? There it is, day to day. Polls next.
The Titans have their sights set on Andy Reid's AFC champion Kansas City Chiefs. Mike Keith and Coach Mack have the call.
Did he get in? Yes, he did! Touchdown! Titans!
Kickoff is Sunday at noon on your flagship for Titans Radio, 104.5 The Zone.
need to publicly shame him, and we'll do that on the radio. But before we do the polls, I need to quickly remind you that I am going to head to Two Rivers Ford after this because I know that J. Martin Ramon and 3HL, they're going to be out of Two Rivers Ford tomorrow. And so I got a call from the fine folks over there. And they said, hey, it'd be fun if you could, because they're raising money for cancer, which is great. And they asked me, can you lean into this a little bit since you and Dawn have this existing online social media feud, which if you were following it during the Vols game on Saturday, she called me clown, and I had to yell at her in front of an audience of thousands at the pregame setup yesterday. But I'm going to go out to Two Rivers Ford, and I'm going to help Ramon Foster raise money in the effort to spite Dawn Davenport. And this was something that was fueled directly by Two Rivers Ford. So I'm going to head out there at 3 o'clock today for an A to Z Sports pop-up. In the meantime, we'll do some polls.
All right, Dan. I reckon I'll talk about a poll update. This is Carl Childers. There's a young feller. I think he's got the final numbers. Here's the producer of the Buck Reising Show. A feller named Lucas Panzeker. Got any mustard and biscuits?
Just couldn't be more different.
It's so weird. I kind of like it, though. I don't know why I like it. I don't think I should like it. There's something wrong about it.
Oh.
Especially with the way that he's just grunting and groaning at us mustard and biscuits.
Who are the winners of the football weekend? Gary Todd says the Titans won the sports weekend, but King Henry got royally screwed by FedEx and the NFL, rushing the FedEx Ground Player of the Week before the game even started. Not a good look, FedEx.
Yeah, we didn't talk about it today. It's probably going to come up on Wednesday because, we got the dumbest thing in sports.
Julian says it's Purdue for beating the number 2 team in the nation and having a record for beating number 1 and number 2 ranked teams as an unranked school. They have
Iowa.
9. No one else has more than 4.
Iowa, you chokers. Just absolute choking dogs. What a tough way to go down. And it wasn't even close. Purdue blew them out.
Josh says Nissan Stadium is the winner of the weekend. Eldon says cornerbacks that need employment are the winners of the weekend.
Yeah, Titans are going to be in the market for a little bit of help at cornerback. Mike Vrabel not confirming season-ending injuries for Caleb Farley or Cam Batson, for that matter, but they're going to need some help. That Stephon Gilmore trade for a 6th-round pick sounded pretty nice right now.
Losers of the football weekend, Puka says Bills Mafia, who came down for vacation and got to see an ass-whooping. Instead, they're going back with empty wallets, hangovers, and a last-second loss. Thanks for the money. Have a long, slow trip back home. Wonder why there's no photos of the plane trip back. Goodness, Puka.
Puka.
Off the top rope.
My God, that was vicious. I don't know if we're going to do any better than that.
Gary says the Vols fan base is the loser of the weekend for getting dragged by clueless national media and, of course, the hapless Texans and Dolphins, with the latter being beaten by the previously winless Jags.
Yeah, Miami lost. Miami took a fat L, and they had to go overseas to do it.
Derrick Henry MVP? 98% say yes.
98?
Yes.
Who are the 2%?
I don't know.
I will find you.
Puka says he's in the top 5 discussion now. Goody says he has to at least be brought up. So no dissenters in the comments.
Except for the 2%.
That was the best atmosphere in Nissan Stadium since what game? V-Love, which he would know, says Chiefs in 2019. Tyler replied, said, I agree, but I think it was louder last night.
Oh, no, it was for sure louder last night because it was more full. I mean, there was a lot of Chiefs fans in the stands in 2019. And again, this is not a shot at Titans fans. It's just it was a different time before the Titans became a hot ticket and before people actually wanted to attend these games. And they put on a great show. 2019 was an incredible game to watch, but that's been the best environment I've ever witnessed at Nissan Stadium.
Lance Smith says, in my 7 seasons, of course, Lance Smith, who works for the Titans, in my 7 seasons, it is tops. Going back to just my fan days, the 99 wild card game was it. Must be something about playing the Bills.
Yeah, I was 5 years old in 99, so I don't recall.
Shut up, Chris Broussard? Yes or hell yes? 70% say hell yes. We will address this tomorrow with the dumbest thing in sports, and those are the polls.
Did you call dibs on that?
I did. I called dibs. But actually, I found another one if you want it.
I'll think about it.
There's some good stuff this week.
You'll have to find out tomorrow because Blaine and Mickey are next.
The Vols have a a Saturday night SEC date with Alabama. And I know at least one person who's calling for an upset.
Hey, yo! Vols fans! Go Vols!
Kickoff is Saturday at 6 on your home for the Vols and SEC 104.5 The Zone.